My name is Charlene Duffy, and I'm a supervisor for Children's Protective Services in the Emergency Response Program. Signs of Safety has made a very big difference in our practice. The engagement strategies that we used before, old school was basically just telling a parent what they needed to do, what we expected of them, and kind of a lot of, tell us, why you did this and what were you thinking, and sort of a lot of blame. Whereas with Signs of Safety, it's this great engagement process where we're also highlighting what's working well for the family. We're looking at what their strengths are, the behaviors and actions that they take to keep their children safe, focusing on that and assessing their abilities to do the things that will keep their children safe, rather than us just making assumptions or telling them what they need to do and not really knowing what they're capable of accomplishing, what they're capable of thinking. And then I think one of the most powerful things about Signs of Safety is that we're having the parent do the work. It's not us formulating a plan and saying, this is what you need to do. It's them telling us what they're going to do, and them really thinking about the things that they can do, the actions, the behaviors that they can take to keep their children safe, and doing the work. And because they're doing the work and doing the thinking, then we're able to assess whether they can, whether they have those protective capacities. So that's been, I think, the biggest shift. And sometimes I think it's just such a different way of thinking for us as social workers that at first it almost seems like it's more work. It kind of takes a little bit of extra time, but it's really just a very respectful, engaging approach. And at times it's easy to kind of slip into the old way to kind of just move things through quickly. But I really see that when I revert back to the old process, that I kind of see the parent sort of, or child kind of close up, and they're not really there anymore, and they're not really engaged, and therefore if it's not something that they're buying into, you're just not really going to get any movement. Every time I do Signs of Safety, I do a mapping with a family or 3 houses with a child, I learn something different, because it's definitely not a linear process. It's a very fluid process, and you kind of move through it. It's sort of like this very elaborate quilt, and maybe you're working on a flower here, and then you kind of find that you need to move over to another section. But something that's really very cool about it is that our old practice is you tell a parent, hey, this event happened, like this domestic violence happened, and the parent says, that didn't happen at all. And then you would feel like, okay, I need to stop here. This parent's in denial, we can't move forward. But with Signs of Safety, what I've found out is that I can still go through the whole Signs of Safety. I can get to safety planning with that parent. And I had an example. I had a parent who got into a situation where the mother came over with a box cutter, cut him up, his girlfriend. It was pretty bad. We weren't sure if the child was there or not. And when I went to do Signs of Safety mapping with him and do a safety plan, he was in total denial. It didn't happen. And so I just started kind of going through the process, did the scaling questions and everything. And what I found is Signs of Safety did not get in the way of us having a safety plan. And in fact, he was still telling me everything that I needed to hear from him. He was telling me, I have an anger management problem, Mom has an anger management problem, this is what we need to do. These are the actions, behaviors that we need to take. And he was telling me everything that I would want a parent to tell me. He was telling me everything that I would have told him that I would have wanted. So that was really a great insight for me to see. And that's just one of many. The whole just appreciative inquiry and the amplifying of questions, and especially useful when you have families that aren't getting along, whether it's parent-child conflict or the parents aren't getting along, and just to ask each other, what do you most appreciate about dad or about your child? What do you most love about them? What are you most proud of? And just to see the amazing answers that I get, what a child will say to a mom or vice versa. And they're saying things that maybe this parent or child has never ever heard their whole life, or maybe they haven't heard it in a long time. And I just see just the defenses just melt away, and they become just more engaged, and then we're just able to have this really nice cooperative atmosphere where we can get stuff done and really think about what we need to think about and do what we need to do to keep their children safe. So there's many examples. I've done some 3 houses with children, and at first I used to just, I thought, well, to save time, I'm just going to do the writing myself and ask them the questions. And then I had a 10-year-old child, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to I gave her a choice, and she said she wanted to do it, and I let her do it. And I was really amazed because I got more information out of this child from this child doing it herself rather than me writing it for her and asking her questions. And whenever she said something that was really important, I would just say, "Oh, would you write that down too?" And it was just every time I do it, I learn something different, and I just see how fluid the process is, and it's always different, and it's really fantastic, and it works really great, pretty much all the time. And I think also, because people will think, well, this is this really nice, touchy-feely kind of process. What are we going to, is this just a way where we're going to let parents kind of get away with stuff, and we're going to develop this plan, and then we're just going to close the case? And it's not that way at all, because when you're doing signs of safety and you're making that parent really think, and you make them do the work, you're going to know, you're going to be able to assess their abilities pretty much right from the beginning. You're going to know what they're capable of, because if they're not able to give you the kind of responses that you need to hear, then you have a problem. So it really works both ways. It's very well rounded. The challenges that I've faced in using the new strategies is time. It definitely in the beginning takes more time, especially if you're doing a mapping with the family, like you're doing the full mapping and going into safety planning. It can take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. So that part, I think, for folks can be really daunting. However, you can really use just little pieces of signs of safety that can be really valuable, like just scaling questions, appreciative inquiry. You can use all these little bits and pieces that can give you really pertinent information, rather than asking a child, do you feel safe with your mom? When you ask a child on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10, you feel completely safe with your mom, and 0, you don't feel safe with your mom at all. Where are you on that scale? That number gives you a lot more information than just a yes or no answer. So it's just every piece of signs of safety is very valuable. I really enjoy just going out and doing it myself, and I like to go out with my social workers, and then I will do the mapping and they'll do the scribing, and that way it's sort of like we're kind of all getting our feet wet, and eventually they'll have enough of a comfort level to take it on themselves. My hope for the use of the signs of safety practice is that we just continue to have that conversation, continue to have workshops, continue to take it out in the field and do it with families and practice all the pieces and use the language, which I find really helpful to talk about harm, talk about danger. It's very, very helpful in narrowing down our focus to just what we need to be considering about children's safety. So I hope that we just continue with the practice and get more comfortable and get to a place where it's just really our culture shifts in that way, and we're just thinking and talking signs of safety all the time.